One time when I had a newborn baby, I was sitting on the couch nursing the baby, and my 5-year-old came up to me and she saw me nursing the baby. And so she did what any little 5-year-old will do in that situation. She grabbed her baby doll and she put her baby doll on her belly button and she nursed her baby. She said, "Look at mommy, I nursing my baby too." They're always watching us, right? Whether it's the little boy that wants to mow with his little plastic lawnmower behind dad, or whether it's a little girl that wants to nurse like we do, they're always imitating us. However, when it comes to the way that we're treating and supporting our body, is that something that we want imitated? I want to unpack this today. Let's talk a little bit about some things that we as moms are setting up the standard for our girls, and how can we reevaluate and perhaps even experience our own healing so they can too. If you're new here, I'm Rita Johnson, the owner of Health and Hormones, and here you'll find all things from fatigue solutions to period help, gut healing, and so much more. Let's dive in. So I know this can be a really powerful thing to contemplate. We see it in our homes on a daily basis. If I am not in control of my mood, when my husband is coming out from his office for the end of his workday, when my kids are returning home from wherever they were, and it's busy and perhaps frantic, but if I'm joyful, if I'm happy, if I'm humming, if I'm welcoming everyone in, it sets a tone. Dad might be in a bad mood because he had a really busy day, or one of the kids might be in a bad mood. They're kind of grumpy. But the tone of the home is almost always set by us as the mom. If, however, we're going around the kitchen, slamming down pots and pans, slamming cupboard doors, angry, frustrated, we snap at everybody that comes in, it trickles down really strong, right? And really powerfully, just like that little one that's imitating us while we're nursing. And as moms, we have this great capacity for being able to hold other people's hearts inside of us. That's physically why we can make space for an entire other human in our womb. Regardless of if we're called to physical motherhood or not, we are, as women, designed this way. And so we have to be intentional about the ways that that's going to impact others as well. If we're not making space for holding each other's hearts, everyone will feel that. And I believe that that's why that emotional reaction is so strong when mom is disoriented or is, really living in that place of discord. And how much is that similar to the way that we treat our bodies? So often I'll hear a mom say something to me like, "Oh, she just started learning about her period and she thinks it's horrible and she's really not happy about this." And yes, that can happen. Even if a mom is like, "This is so amazing that this is how God made you." But I also think that a lot of times we're not coming at it from that place of reverence, of respect, of love and appreciation for the way that God made us. Whether we have our own injury that we're struggling with fertility, perhaps a struggle to conceive, or perhaps a struggle to not conceive, in the case of something like hyperfertility or having a baby later in life when maybe you weren't open to that at the time. But we need to acknowledge the way that that is mirrored to our girls and how our girls are then learning, this is how I treat myself. I see this time and time again when a young girl comes to me with an eating disorder. Oftentimes her mom also had an eating disorder, or she was surrounded by other women who had eating disorders, or who so valued the ability to be super skinny, and to such an extent that they saw that that's where our worth is. Our worth is being super thin, right? Our worth is in dismissing these things instead of embracing and understanding and learning more about how God made us, and then letting us reveal to us more about our Creator, right? Because that is what our bodies are doing. So how do we do this when we as moms don't have it all figured out? I have a few suggestions of places for you to start. The first thing I would say is that we need to really focus on our mindset around the way we're looking at ourselves in the mirror or the way we speak to ourselves. I think the most obvious is if, when you're in a loving relationship and your husband says, "Oh, babe, you're so beautiful." And you say, "Thanks." Or you don't say anything. And in your heart, you feel it's hardened to that comment. It might not be hardened to your husband, but you might have such a belief ingrained in your mind that you are not beautiful, that you can't receive his compliment. And so I just ask you to start by curiosity. How do I feel when someone compliments me, and how do I respond to their compliment? Do I accept it? Do I receive it? Do I try to shirk it? Do I reflect? Or do I outright ignore it? I used to do this thing when I had somebody that would say, "Oh, Rita, I love your sweater." And I'd say, "Oh, thanks. I got it at Goodwill." First of all, they don't care where I got it. They liked my sweater. And why did that make me feel like I wasn't receiving the compliment? I could just reflect it back. "Oh, it's not a big deal. I just got it cheap somewhere." That doesn't matter. What matters is that the way that I dress is an embodiment of who I am, and I can show that on my external body, right? It's displaying an aspect of my personality with how I present myself and how I show up in the world. And so I really started there. I found that that was the easiest place for me to start. It was harder for me to receive from my husband, him saying, "You're so gorgeous," when I was in the middle of I don't know, doing 5 unglamorous things at once, probably changing a diaper while cooking dinner, while while trying to clean up the garbage that someone threw on the floor. Like the things we do in our day-to-day life. And in that moment, that was too much for me to be able to receive that from him. But when a girlfriend tells me she likes my sweater or my jeans or my shirt, I can just say, "Thank you." And I can also then try to find a way to compliment her, to pour out into her, even if I feel uncomfortable in that moment. So I just invite you, start here, stay curious. The other thing that can be really helpful is, all of us that have birthed babies, that are physical mothers, we have imprints of that on our body. And that can really discourage us from being able to see the ways that our body is beautiful. It's no longer that 20-year-old body that was just so firm and plump and all the things. But instead, we can say and know from experience that our body is incredible and it does amazing things. And the more that I've spoken that over myself when I look in the mirror, the more that helps me to be able to see my body through that lens, that my body's incredible and it does amazing things. And that then helps me to give more to my girls by that witness of their bodies are also amazing and they do incredible things. Again, even if they're never physical mothers, even if it's just the natural aging process that changes and alters our physical shape, it's still incredible the way that the Lord made us. And then really focusing on that. And when we learn more about our bodies, we learn more about our Lord and more about how He made us as women.